El Salvador is now saying that they will not force any of the nation's residents to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. So this is in contrast to the original law that we spoke a lot about earlier this year. The president wrote on Twitter, if someone wants to continue to carry cash, not receive a sign-on bonus, not win over customers who have Bitcoin, not grow their business and pay commission on remittances, they can continue to do so. So that seems a little bit shady to me, but I will continue. Now, Article 7 of the Bitcoin law still says that all economic agents must accept Bitcoin, and when asked if it was necessary to eliminate that article, the finance minister said, why? So the president has tweeted, we don't need to do it. It's still written in law. Ben, I'm curious for your take on this.
I mean, all my grandparents have passed away, but this sounds like them asking me, like, why don't you have kids? Like, very passive aggressively in a lot of different ways. I was just kind of struck by the shadiness, Jem, which you alluded to. And I do think it maybe gets at the breakneck pace of the way in which this law was passed and the adoption and sort of the, rapture that sort of engulfed the Bitcoin community when talking about El Salvador. And now we're seeing, the slow walk back of this. We talked about, kind of the mentality, a little bit of like move fast, break things, or like fix it later. And I think now we're starting to see like the rubber's meeting the road in such a way that not everybody wants to adopt this. And so I think this is a really good example of like when crypto meets the meat space, as we talk about sometimes on this show. And like not everybody wants Bitcoin in this country, but the tonality of these tweets and kind of the statements is just like, all right, like you didn't have to throw like, I'm getting chilly under all this shade. But anyway, Naomi, I'll toss it to you for your thoughts.
Yeah, I just thought like it's a typical response from a dictator, right? It's like, why do the laws need to represent what I just told you on Twitter? I mean, I've been very clear in my tweets about this. There should be no, controversy there. So it's like, I mean, the way that they've handled this whole thing, all the crypto community is just clamoring to be on board because it's their currency of choice, right? But it is still a dictatorship that is mandating the use of something, and everyone sort of turn the blind eye because they're like, well, we really like the currency, so we like that it's being mandated. It's not really mandated. It's like, okay, so take it out of the law then. And even the president of the country is like, nah, we keep that in the law, but just keep up to date with my Twitter to see where things currently stand. It's just a very strange way of handling all of this, and I can understand why some people are very uneasy about something like this playing out this way. It's the same way that we have the Treasury Department, we have the IRS saying, oh, we're not going to enforce this law that the United States government just passed, where it's, got very broad sweeping definition or redefinition, I should say, of what a broker is. We're just going to ignore that and we're not going to redefine it. It's like, okay, that's great. So why not amend the language in the bill that passed to represent what you guys are now saying? So there's something that is bad in society when you've got laws that are kind of vaguely written and so interpreted however the people in power want to interpret it. That's not really a good way to run things, and it's definitely not a good thing for El Salvador and for their reputation in this. I'm sad about this whole thing, because if they'd just come out without Article 7 and said, hey, this is now an option for people if they want it, and no capital gains, all of this, I think you would have had such unity in the crypto community. You would have had everyone on board, like cheering this along. They would have gotten so much good press, and instead it divided the crypto community between those who were like, don't look at the letter of the law, look at the intent of the law, and people who were like, let's change the law and make sure that this is robust and not just some dictator who's saying something and next week he's going to say something different on Twitter. So it really did divide the community unnecessarily. I wish that they'd just come out with clear guidelines that didn't mandate anything, but it is what it is. And it's good that he's now clarifying this on Twitter. I like that there's no mandate, but yeah, I would like to see that reflected in the law as well. But I'll throw this to you, Will.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with you that laws should be minimalist in scope, because if you see like the ripple effects later down the line that you're not anticipating. I think right now the infrastructure bill that's in front of the U.S. Congress, that is sort of the concern with everyone, that this broad sweeping legislation could have really terrible effects on the cryptocurrency industry here in the US and then therefore abroad. Even though that's not the intention of the infrastructure bill and the language in that bill from the people who wrote it. They've said that that's not what they mean. They're just the language is too broad, and it can be interpreted that way though later on. So that's a danger. The legal tender issue for El Salvador is interesting though, because I guess the question also becomes like, how does the legal tender affect like the dollar in the area as well? The government mandates that you have to be able to use a dollar or whatever El Salvador's currency is. And so you kind of have like the same issue, right? They force you to use whatever currency you need.
So that's a mistake that a lot of people bring up. There's a difference between, mandating legal tender and different legal tender laws that most of the world has. Most of the world does not actually mandate that at point of sale transactions, a certain currency is required to be accepted. It's usually for past bills, but like point of sale in a shop, you can have a sign on your shop that says, cash only, or you can have a sign on your shop that says we only accept Visa card or whatever. You could have a sign on the shop that says I can only accept crypto. It's totally legal in most countries. But El Salvador, also with their US law, they're not mandating that people must accept this at point of sale transactions. It's for past debts. But now with the Bitcoin one, that's something different, where they are saying, you have to accept this at point of sale. And that's why there's so much uproar about Article 7, because it is quite rare to have something like that's written in. It's not it's not a normal thing for governments to put in place. So it's a slight nuance there that I think a lot of people missed in this.
So they're now, with that clarification from Bukele, they're saying that it's a legal tender law similar to any other, where you don't have to accept at point of sale.
Maybe
that's what they're saying. It seems like,
I don't know.
But if they don't change the writing, I worry about what we're going to see in the future when it comes to people accepting or not accepting Bitcoin.